And as usual, I forgot to take that background off. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Grey Exchange. I'm glad everyone is here tonight. How is everybody doing? Let me kind of do a quick roll call of who's in chat. I see CC Collins. I see Michigan Outpost, Cat Lady Prepper Meow. Where else did I see? Independent Marine, Monty, Joe Morgan, Ashley. Let me see who else is here. Harvey Black. Thanks for joining us, brother. Prepping Plumber, Gloria M, Sheila, Ginger Ninja, Coral Tiger, CC Collins. I might have already said that. Jeff, what is up? Hoot Howl, Mrs. Prepping Plumber, Michelle Monroe. All right. So, folks, tonight I'm bringing someone new to the channel. I pinned his channel so that you guys can check it out at the top of this, and I also have it in the description, because when you look at this channel, it's very impressive. I'm going to let him talk about this stuff, but his skill sets are phenomenal. I was kind of put onto this channel by Harvey Black, one of my mods. Thank you so much, Harvey. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring up Charlie, aka I call him Ghost, but Ghost Wolf, and we're going to go ahead and dive into some questions, folks. Okay. All right. What's up, Charlie? How are we doing this evening?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good.
So, being that some folks may not be familiar with it, Charlie, go ahead and introduce yourself and let them kind of know a little bit about your channel.
Okay. Well, my name is Charlie White. My channel it covers everything outdoors, from fishing, hunting, gathering, like picking berries and stuff like that there. I guess kayaking, camping, snowmobiling, snowshoeing, well, you name it. Everything that you can do outdoors and that we do up here outdoors. This is a way of life for me. I was introduced to the outdoors at the age of 3 by my father, and he took me ever since. By the time I was 5 years old, I was almost totally self-sufficient in the woods. You had to learn a few different skill sets in order to be able to be taken out on the land with the men when they went out hunting, fishing, and gathering. So they taught me these skills, my dad and my grandfather. And one of those skills was how to make an alder whistle. Another one was, you had to know how to make fire, had to know how to make shelter. You had to be able to cook your own meals and stuff like that. When I was fishing, I had to know how to tie on my leader to my fly line, know how to tie on my wet flies, my dry flies. By the time I was 7 years old, I was tying my own salmon flies. And I always was able to go out on the land with the men, because I guess I wasn't a handful when I was out there. I had older cousins, some of them that were 10, 12, 15 years old even, that weren't their fathers wouldn't take them out on the land when the men went out, because if you couldn't get bored. If you were out there and you're gone fishing for a whole entire day. We never fished for sport. We always fished for food. Everything that we did was getting our next meal or preparing ourselves for the long Newfoundland winters. So yeah, everything that you see on my channel is pretty much everything that we've done every year after year. We kind of chase the seasons.
Yeah, it was in the green room we were discussing. I didn't know that you were Native American. I thought that was pretty intriguing.
Mi'kmaq, yeah. I'm actually the chief of Indian Head First Nations. It's a band here. You can't tell by looking at me. My dad's family is very they look different. If you took half the family and put them in one group, the other half and put them in the other group, it looked like two separate families. What happened was when my grandmother was just 3 years old, this happened back in, I think it was 1916. The First World War was on. My grandmother's oldest brother, Uncle Felix, he had gone overseas in the war. He had a mom and dad and all his siblings at home. His father passed away while he was gone. The church had come in and took all the children from my great grandmother and said a savage couldn't raise children on her own. Mm. So at the age of 3, my grandmother was sent to live in central Newfoundland and was adopted by an elderly couple. So she denied her native heritage and wasn't allowed to be native. Like they were very strict with that. And to the day she died, she lived to be 99. Until the day she died, she said she wasn't native, right? And she ended up marrying a guy that had some Scottish into him, and that's where the light skin and the reddish hair comes from. So half of the family looked like me. The other half, dark hair, dark eyes, dark skin. So look like grandmother type thing, right? If you see some of my videos, my cousin Jackie Bruce, Jackie's father was my grandmother's brother. So Jackie is my first cousin once removed. He was Dad's first cousin, and he was just probably about 4 years younger than Dad, 3 or 4 years younger than Dad. So yeah, very kind of raised in the native way and in the traditional Newfoundland way, where we did a lot of hunting, fishing, and gathering, because we never had a lot of money growing up, you know.
Yeah, man, that's it's intriguing, man, and great story, and thanks for sharing, man. It's pretty interesting, man. It's like and a lot of you folks, I don't know if you guys know where Newfoundland is. It's from what I looked at it, because I was curious myself, because I'm getting familiarized with I know Northern Girl Hobbies probably does because she's in Canada, but you guys are kind of like in that far right northern region of Canada, right?
Newfoundland is in the well, we're actually a province in the North Atlantic.
Okay, so is it separate? Is it so it's not Canada itself, or
it is Canada?
Okay.
We joined Confederation in 1949. Okay. Before that, Newfoundland was its own country before 1949. But we joined Confederation in 1949, and we're the most eastern province of Canada. So we get some pretty extreme weathers here, being out in the North Atlantic.
Yeah, I was gonna tell folks for you guys that may not be familiar with Charlie's channel, he does a lot of interesting videos. He's a lot larger than I am when it comes to subscribers and stuff like that. And some of his footage is awesome, and the skills that he's showing folks are very, very intriguing. Stuff that I would love to learn to kind of touch on stuff like that. You know, Charlie, I guess you might be, I don't know if you're famous for this, but for me, you're famous in my eyes with it. Is you do a lot of the stuff with the rabbits and the snares and those boxes that you've been building, those kind of like those traps.
Yeah, I just started experimenting with those boxes this year, actually. Before that, we always built traditional pens, and I did a video talking about the 4 different types of traditional pens that we normally build. But the problem with is when you build these traditional pens here, every single day when I wake up, first thing I do, I go out in my driveway and I clear snow. Sometimes it's only this much snow, but sometimes it's 2 and 3 feet of snow. It's like we get a crazy amount of snow and a lot of winds, so we get a lot of drifting. So the bigger your snow banks are on the sides of your driveway, after a storm, that can all level off. So if you got a 3-foot high banks on the side of your driveway, you get a good storm, and all that drifts in right across. So you got 3 feet of snow to move out of your driveway the next day, type thing. But what was the question? Where we were going with that?
Yeah, it's that you've been building these because to me,
The
No, go ahead. Go
pens.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So, when you build these traditional pens, a lot of time they get totally buried in. So I started building, one of the guys had asked me if I thought chicken wire would work good as a good material for a rabbit pen. I said, I don't know, but I'm gonna play with it and give it a go. So I started playing with it, and I had some success with it. But then another guy seen the video, and he sent in a picture of a pen that he had built. So basically, I copied his pen, but I changed the dimensions a little bit, and now, holy geez, it's so nice, because if you go in there and your pen's half covered with snow, you just pick up your pen, you kind of clap it together, you fold it back out, and you lay it back down on top of the snow, and it's that quick, that simple, and that easy. And we use birch tips here. There's many different baits you can use for baiting in the rabbits, but I try to keep it to something natural that they're eating and feeding on in the woods. And when I go and collect my birch tips, normally I don't go out and cut down a birch or nothing unless I want to use that birch for firewood. I was always raised in take only what you need. So when I go to get my birch tips for my rabbit snares, I go to where someone up here is cutting birch firewood, and I go and I harvest the tips. If they're not using it for setting snares, then I go out and I'll harvest those tips from those folks, and I'll use them for my pens.
See, I would consider you, to me, from what I've gathered, is you live, but you're surviving every day, because you go out and you hunt, you fish, you're always out there in the elements, and it's like that's your life. That's like your life. That's how you can, gather your food and stuff like that.
Yeah, you see, in my dad's family, again, going back to my grandmother, where she was taken from her family at such a very early age, at the age of 3. So she grew up with no brothers and sisters, even though she had lots of brothers and sisters. And one thing I forgot to talk about, that when Uncle Felix had come back from the war, remember, he left. His mother and father were home, and all his brothers and sisters. He was the oldest. He comes back, and he goes back to Abraham's Cove, where they lived, and there was nobody there in the house. The neighbors told him that the father had passed away, and they don't know what happened to his mother and to the children. So his brothers and sisters. So he ended up going down to the States, and he lived out all his life to his dying day, never ever knowing what had happened to his family. That's pretty harsh. You go away to war, you come back, and your whole world is turned upside down. But because my grandmother only grew up as a single child, she ended up having 19 kids.
Wow.
So we had to do a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, and a lot of gathering, like berry picking. When we chased every single berry as it ripened, and we picked gallons upon gallons of it, and they dried it, and they made jams out of it, bottled it into jams, froze some, because when I grew up, we had freezers, but when Dad grew up, they never had that, right? They kept their meat in a snowbank with sawdust over top of it. And
wow.
and he said they go out, and there'd always be a layer of green on the meat. He said, and that was the one thing that he wanted to do before he passed, was to save some meat in that manner. Because he said, when you cut down that layer of green, as soon as you cut off that little layer of green that's on the meat is already starting to break down. He said, that's the tenderest, most tasty meat you'll ever eat. Yeah, and he wanted to go back to that way of keeping meat, or at least a little bit of meat, so he could have that feed, right? Yeah. So
no, go ahead, Charlie.
So getting back to your question, everything that we did was about getting our next meal, whether it was picking the berries, whether it was fishing or hunting, right? It was all about preparing either for the next meal or many meals down the road.
And see, that's why I find it intriguing, and that's why I wanted to, once I started digging into your channel, I was like, I got to have this gentleman on, because a lot of people talk about surviving and prepping and stuff like that, but you like, to me, you live this, this is how this is daily for you. You wake up and you do this stuff on a consistent basis. So if you guys want to see, someone who survives on a daily basis, you got to check his channel out and watch some of this stuff. And I just learned recently, Charlie just shared with me before we came on, that he does these remote, what is it called, Charlie? Like a remote,
it was a flying camp for guiding moose hunters and bear hunters and caribou hunters and stuff like that there. Yeah.
And he just takes them out in the middle of nowhere, and they just live off the land and hunt.
Yeah.
I find that truly intriguing, because a lot of folks, if things really go sideways, let's say here in the States or any country that's, let's say, that most people just go to the grocery store and they do everything like that. They get everything kind of like they buy it and whatnot, instead of hunting and gathering and whatnot. To learn some of the skills that you do on a daily basis is I think very pertinent to what we're doing here on the prepping side of things.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, yeah. I watch a lot of prepping videos and like bushcraft videos and stuff. And sometimes, you can see that it's somebody new to it, but they're going out and they're trying to learn these skill sets and stuff. You can tell by the way they're holding their knife, or the way they're using their axe, or, and the way you see them sawing, that they're not, I guess they're not at one with the tools that they're using, because they didn't grow up with it in your hands. Like, oh, geez, I'll show you this. This is going back to when I was 5 years old. Can you see how small this is? And a wood burning kit. But Dad had made this handle for me, because I was only 5 at the time and I had a very little hand. Now I can't put my hand around it. I can't close my fist good enough now to hold on to something so little. But that's the size of my finger. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Normally you have a good handle onto an axe, right? But yeah, that was a little axe that Dad had made for me for rabbit snaring and for out on the river, so I can cut my my wood for my fires and stuff like there.
So you learned like stuff like fire starting skills at a very, very young age, probably using like I don't know. I'm assuming you use like ferro rods and stuff like that, because I've seen you use some of those in your videos and whatnot.
Yeah.
Have you done any like extreme primitive skills, like, with the bow drill and stuff like that?
Yeah, Dad showed me how to use the bow drill and all that stuff. Yeah.
Because I find that extremely hard. I've been playing around with it, but I have yet to.
It is hard. But once you do it, it's hard until you do it. You know what I mean? It's like anything. Anything is hard the first time, but after you understand the amount of pressure that you got to use and the time it takes, and sometimes you're putting too much pressure on and you can't really get it working good. Sometimes you're not putting enough pressure on to build up that friction to get that heat. And the key for me was learning how to notch it out. So and learning the pressure to put onto the, I don't even know what it was called anymore, but we made our bow, and then we made our dowel that we just kept spinning back and forth. And if you got to cut a little circle where that dowel goes in, but then you got to notch it out, so the embers got a spot to fall as you're getting going. And yeah, after you do it enough and you learn. I remember we were kids. We were probably, me and my cousins, there'd probably be 4 or 5, 6 of us around, all taking turns with it, trying to get it going at the beginning, until we get it figured out. I never ever had to make fire with a bow drill. I just had to know how to make fire with a bow drill. I always carried matches or a lighter, even at the age of 5,
That makes sense.
And then flint and stuff like that.
It's good to have that backup. I wanted to address something in chat. Cat Lady, I've been reading some things come across there, and I will be praying for you as well. Just wanted to address that real quick, because I'm kind of watching chat. I'm trying to pay attention to what Charlie's saying, but I saw that pass in there. So Cat Lady, prayers go out to you. And just so you guys know, when we hit about the 30-minute mark, I'll let you guys ask some questions for Charlie, some of the things that we're discussing as well. Just so you know that I haven't forgot about you guys in chat. Just wanted to address that real quick, Charlie. Yeah,
I know. Prayers for your mom, dear Cat Lady. I know all about that, because right now my wife is going through chemotherapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough. It's,
That's why if you're watching any of my videos from the summer until now, all my adventures are basically just out my back door. They're right behind my house. But I have all that right behind my house, so that's kind of amazing too, right? Where I'm catching the rabbits and where I got my moose and everything.
As I say, you're just walking right out the back door and surviving, you know?
Yeah.
Like
in my back door, like we get moose there all year round. Coyotes come in there, fox, bears on the front step, bears on the back step. You know, pine martens, rabbits, everything is just right here. You wouldn't believe, like, we live in nature almost. You know, there's only 85 houses in the, I think it's considered a village. I'm not really sure how they classify things as per capita, but I think you start off like maybe a village, and then after you get such a certain population, then maybe you're a settlement, and then after you get another size, X number of people, then you become a town, and then a city, and so forth and so on, right? So I think we're classified as actually a village. There's only 85 homes up here.
So very remote. You guys, I'm assuming you guys kind of depend on yourselves for a lot of things like that yourselves, as well as maybe some of your neighbors and whatnot.
Oh yeah, the barter system is very much alive here, and everybody got different skill sets and stuff. So you rely, like, someone may be a welder, another person may be a plumber, pipe fitter, somebody has carpentry skills, another person is good in the woods or whatever, and they'll bring you rabbits and moose and what, you know. So everybody got their own skills and bring something to the table.
Yeah, I was watching one of your recent videos that made me pull this out. Mine's a smaller version of yours, but I do enjoy my silky saw.
Yeah.
These things are phenomenal. I did a review on them not too long ago versus a different saw, and this thing it cuts through wood like butter, man.
Oh yeah, they're really good. I'm happy I got one. I got the I think the 360.
Yeah, that's the bigger one. I'm gonna grab me a whole different size platform of them. This one I just kind of grabbed to kind of play with because a lot of people have spoken about them. I've had a bunch of different saws, but never got to experience the pure cutting power with that little guy. It surprised me.
The guy that I get mine off of, and I did the reviews for him, he's got the best prices. He beats Amazon, he beats Walmart, he beats everybody. And right now, until the end of March, if you use the discount code NLGhost10, and you go to his website and use the discount code NLGhost10, the number 10, and you'll get 10% off. So they're selling for, I believe they retail at 82 something, but with the 10% off, I think you can get them for 74.60 Canadian.
Oh.
So, and I think like Walmart was selling them for 100 and something, and Amazon was over $100. So he's got Amazon beat. Like, not a lot of people beats Amazon, right? Or Walmart. So yeah.
This is true. Very true.
Yeah.
Sitting here looking at chat, make sure I'm not missing anything.
Yeah.
In life with Bobby, I understand. I've used cheap saws as well, and it's better to have something than nothing. I agree. You know, some folks have to take that hit at first. But what I say is once you have that, and then once you decide to upgrade down the road, there's better options down there that you can grab, and then kind of, like I always say, grandfather or, you know, pass those things on to other folks that might be starting getting into, you know, survival or prepping or homesteading and whatnot.
Yeah, I for years and years I used the cheaper saws, the ones with plastic handles and stuff like there. You know, the $20 Walmart special type thing. And a lot of times you end up cracking off those handles. So now when you go to fold up your saw, half your blade is still sticking out. You know, you got exposed teeth, all that stuff. You're throwing that into your pack, and you're making sure the teeth are not going to hit anything in your pack that, you know, put holes in your pack or scrape up or cut up any of your other gear. So, and I was having to buy a cheap saw every single year, and sometimes two. So when you're spending $20 to $40 a year, $74 is going to last you for many, many years. It just kind of makes sense. It's the cheaper way to go, a little more up front, but more bang for your buck down the road.
Right. I was thinking of something that was going to pop in my head that I was thinking of as you were talking. I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this? Because I was reading chat and I wanted to say what's up to Liz Rambo, one of my subscribers. I saw her pop in here as well. And I always get distracted by my chat sometimes. So that's why I try to stare at the camera. Because I know you've been doing, when I looked at your history on YouTube, you've been doing YouTube for about 9 years, is it?
Yeah, I guess. If you say 9 years, I'll believe you.
I went down to your first video, kind of like scrolling through all the way down and kind of checking some of your first content, because I always like to look at people's history, and how they've excelled throughout the years and whatnot.
I started my channel because of my dad. The last 10 years, when Dad turned 65, he ended up having a congestive heart failure, and before that he had lived with sugar diabetes for a good 30-35 years, maybe even longer. And diabetes attacks all the small blood vessels, so your eyes and your organs and stuff. So at one point in time in his life, he was declared legally blind. His vision, you know how a good vision is 20/20? His vision was something like 380 over 420. So you had to be right in front of him, and he couldn't see definition on you. He could only see shape. And he had some bad luck growing up, and with the injuries and everything that he suffered. But they ended up replacing the lenses in both eyes, and his vision came back to 40/80, which was correctable with glasses. But because he was all crippled up, he had drove a pole poke in his knee when he was 16 years old. He broke his leg when he was just 3 years old. His brother fell onto him, and they set it poorly, and they had to re-break it after a few weeks and try to set it again. And he grew up with one leg shorter than the other, and that caused a lot of joint issues because he walked lopsided his whole life type thing, right? And but the last 10 years of his life, he spent it sitting in a wheelchair, basically looking out the front window, wishing he was outside, because this is a man that lived outdoors. He was, like I said, in his family of 19 kids, there were certain roles. You had ones that tended to the gardens. They all had the same kind of roles, but then you had your hunters and stuff, and Dad was one of the hunters. He ended up, and I can't remember if he quit school when he was 7 years old, or if he was in grade 7 when he had quit. And then he was in the woods after that. Yeah, he killed his first moose. I think he was only 14. But he started carrying a rifle at the age of 9 and hunting smaller game and stuff like that. Or maybe he was 9. I can't remember exactly now when he had killed his first moose.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and in one of the last videos, maybe it was the last video I did, I showed some of the country that we grew up on, and where we hunted, and where grandfather's cabin was, and they had to do everything. They had to walk in the summer to get to wherever they were going, or use dog team in the winter, or snowshoes. And some of the places that they went through, I know, like in guiding folks, the Newfoundland topography, it is so different. When you come over here and you start walking across bogs and stuff like there, and every time you make a step, if this is where your knee is, and you're sinking this far into the soft bog, and then you're trying to pull up your foot, and there's suction there, like the amount of energy that you use. If you go in there and watch some of my guiding videos, you'll laugh at some of the folks I take in across the Tuckamores and stuff, and walking over the hills and then through across the bogs and stuff, because a lot of them do a lot of training, dry land training, before they come over here. But when they get here, that all that training that they did is almost for nothing, because the type of walking that we do here is just brutal. But they would walk over 12 hours to, and they sometimes did that with meat on their back, but they would walk up to Fox Island River, and they would, when they got there, they would make, because they couldn't carry, I guess, tents and stuff with them for that far because it would take up too much energy. So they got there, they made their shelters, and then they started catching fish. And then they would smoke the fish, split and dry and smoke, and dry the salmon there because it was lighter once it was cleaned and split and dried and smoked and stuff. And they were able to pack more on their backs to carry back to the family. And they went onto the land until they had meat to bring home. And then they got supplies and went back out on the land. And that's kind of the way they lived. And that's what I was brought into. Like I said, Dad started taking me at the age of 3. I wasn't out on every outing that they went on at the age of 3, obviously, because I couldn't fend for myself. But by the time I come 5, I was. And by the time I was 7, I guarantee you I was out there with them. But I wouldn't complain. I knew that if we were going berry picking, we were there all day. If we were going, and this is all day, I mean, before we left, before daylight, and come back after dark. So you were there all day. Right. Yeah. In the summers, we have long days. The higher and north you go, the longer the days are, right, in the summer. So yeah, we spent a lot of time out there in the woods.
I paused my chat because there was a question that popped up, and it was leading into something I was going to ask you, because I was thinking about gardening, and I seen all that snow, and then Homestead Remembrance put a question up and said, how long is the growing season for crops or a garden in Newfoundland? And that kind of led me into the gardening and stuff like that.
Well, we don't have a great growing season. Technically, for years and years, we're the only province in Canada that technically didn't get a summer, because in order to classify as a summer, you had to have so many days above a certain temperature for, I can't remember if it was 6 weeks or 10 weeks, and we never did get that. But we can grow here. We still get frost sometimes well after 24th of May. And I've got some of my videos where I show you it's snowing on the 29th of June. We're getting snow coming down on the 29th of June. So, but we do get we start off with the gardens, and normally you put plastic, you cover them, right? And in the olden days, they would put hay. And everybody had their hay fields and stuff. They would plant their veggies, put a little bit of hay onto it until the ground got warm enough, and they took the hay off, so that the stuff started coming up through when you started getting the little shoots and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But they tried to do everything that they could to get a little bit of insulation, because the plastic was a material that you had to buy, and not everybody had money, type thing. But here we grow, we can get good potatoes, good carrots, but you got to have the softer ground. We get beets, turnips, onions, rhubarb. Rhubarb is a big thing that a lot of people, we can sometimes get 2 and 3 cuts off of rhubarb a year. But yeah, we do, you got to pluck out your veggies normally in September. Sometimes you'll start like maybe late August, but going into September. And that's one thing that we always had, was root cellars. And we used to call them root cellars, but basically we kept all our vegetables in cellars underground, like, and we've gotten away from that with the modern, I guess with modern technology, with deep freezes and fridges and stuff like that there, Like right now, geez, I think in this house here, I got 1, 2, 3 deep freezes, 1, 2, and 2 fridges. And normally, when I go out hunting and stuff, I got my fridges are full of meat. But I guess it's true a full year, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to prepare for that time frame.
Oh yes, yeah.
I saw another question pop up, and so we are about 35 minutes in. So if you guys do have questions for Charlie, you can put either at GreyMan or just put them all in caps, and I should be able to catch them. Like I just caught one from Cat Lady. She said she put the NLGhostWolf, but I'm going to call you Charlie.
Yeah.
She says, "What's your favorite thing in your bug out bag if you have one?"
Favorite thing in a bug out bag? Well, I don't really have one, but you know,
You're pretty much already bugged out. You're
yeah, it's just a daily way of doing things, you know. But I guess I always carry a good knife, and when I'm going out, like with my skidoo or whatever, in there, I got a tomahawk, a saw, a knife, and I always got a way of making fire, and I always got a means of making shelter and stuff, because you never know what can happen out there, and if you're going to be out on the land for one night, two night, or many nights, if a big storm or whatever comes in, because we get blizzards here, and when our blizzards come in here, it's pure whiteout. But most of the time, you're out and back, and there's lots of cabins and stuff. Even if you had to break into one for a night or whatever, and go back. You see, years ago, you wouldn't lock your things, but it was a different. People were different back then. If you had a cabin, you wouldn't have a lock on your cabin door, and you would have like a little log, so that if I was coming along and I needed shelter, I would, or even if it was a cup of tea, I would go in there, and I would, use what you had, replace any wood that you had. I would put a log into it. Like if I couldn't replace what I used, and I knew who owned the cabin, I would leave my name and all that stuff. I was here for this date to this date. I used this, and this. I wasn't able to replace it. I will be back on this date with replacement supplies. And that's the way it was. But then different group of people started going into the woods, and cabins started getting broken into, and things started to get stolen and stuff. And it's a whole different generation of people out there today. People wanting, I don't know. I was always raised, if it's not yours, don't touch it. And you know what I mean? It's simple rules, and we would always help each other out, and if you're out on the land and you're coming back, and you knew a old fella had a cabin there, and you seen that he was getting a little bit low on wood. Well, if you had an hour or two, you would stop and you would cut up or split up some of his wood for him, and just pile it, not even use it, and then carry on your way again, because it was just kind of a good thing to do, a neighborly thing to do type thing, right?
Right.
Because you never know, your next trip in there, you might be in there trying to use some of that wood. So it was just a whole different mentality than what you see today.
And before, I want to mention something before we go into the next question is at the end of this live stream, I have a couple things I'm going to go over. So if you guys, I see there's about 54, 55 of you in chat. I got some things from Amendment 1 Preparedness I'm going to share with you guys that he's going to do for an upcoming giveaway on this channel, and a surprise video that I did for you guys today that I'll discuss towards the end of this. But on to the next question. I think, where was it at? Hutch Homestead said, "What's the number one thing you wish you had, but you think you'll never get?"
The number one thing I wish I had, but I think I'll never get. Well, geez, I don't know.
Good question.
I would love to see, like we've lost a way of living here, because everything went to the wayside to sport fishing and catch and release, and it was killing our salmon stocks. People stopped going to the rivers. Like an Atlantic salmon is different than any other species of fish. Like a bass will survive in a puddle on side of the road, a ditch on side of a road. Like you throw a bass or a pike, they're such a hardy fish. They, and the trout are pretty, excuse me, hardy as well. But the Atlantic salmon, when you get them on the end of a fly rod, they will fight with every single ounce of strength that they got in their body. And when you handle them, you're taking the slime off of them, you're taking the scales off of them. And even if you do a good catch and release and you do a good revive, if you take a lot of the the scales and stuff off of that fish while you're handling it. It'll later develop infections and stuff, and ends up killing the fish over a longer period of time, 3, 4, 5 weeks down the road. Just the infection starts to set in, and they've proven, and there used to be a really good study out on it, but the money that backs the sport and entertainment side of fishing and hunting and stuff is far greater than the ones that, I guess, support the conservation side of the house. And when people lost that right of going out and catching salmon and keeping them for themselves and stuff, they never had a vested interest, so they turned their backs on the river. And then there was other groups of people that were going out and netting these rivers. They were putting gill nets right across the rivers, one after another. So as the salmon were migrating up the rivers, they were getting caught. Hundreds and hundreds of salmon a day were getting caught at the nets at the mouth of these rivers. But once we were allowed to start retaining a couple of fish again, in the very first week, over 65 known poachers got reported by the fishermen, because now they had another vested interest in seeing a good, healthy salmon population. When they took the fishing away from them, because nobody was raised here for sport fishing and catch and release, we were raised for, we went to the river to get food. We went out there to catch a fish, play the fish out, and then let it go and go try to catch another fish. To me, that's almost like cruel, right? But that's the different way of today's generation thinks a whole lot different than how I was raised.
Right. Mm-hmm. Nomad Prepper has a question, and this will be an easy question for you to answer, Charlie. He says, Ghost, do you do a lot of trapping?
Yes and no. I started trapping with Dad and Grandfather when they started taking me on trap line when I was 5 years old with them. And when I went away and I joined the forces, I did over 27 years in the forces, in the armed forces. And when I first started, I had a family and stuff, and money was tight. So I became a trapper for the DNR, the Department of Natural Resources. I think they called it a nuisance wildlife operator. So I got to see firsthand and work with the DNR and do a lot of nuisance wildlife trapping, as well as my own personal trapping. But I haven't trapped now since I've been home. I bought a license the very first year. I set one trap out, and I got a mink the very next day on a river where my grandfather used to trap. So it was a nice go back and go to the area that I grew up trapping, right? And I set one coyote snare out, and I ended up catching a red fox into it. And so that was it. But the fur prices right now are down. You're getting next to nothing. The mink are not selling. And you're getting nothing. Like, I remember getting $75 for a mink when I was back in the 70s. But nowadays, you don't. Like, I think a lot of the minks are not selling. Some, when they do sell, $4 and $5. Like, oh my gee, that's not good,
Yeah. Northern Girl Hobby said, "I'm looking forward to watching your videos, Charlie, fellow Canadian."
Right on. Thanks.
Kincaid Outdoors said, "Charlie, what kind of bow do you bow hunt with? I'm a traditional archer myself."
Yeah, a carry bow Taiga, 54 pounds at 27 inches. Abe Penner out in Morden, Manitoba. I haven't talked to Abe now in quite some time. I used to do a lot of talking with him, and he had a lot of my pictures and stuff onto his web page. Carry bow, CARI -BOW, almost like caribou, but carry bow. And I used the Taiga as a takedown traditional recurve. I had moose antler inlays on my limbs and stuff. It's beautiful bow. But yeah, to answer your question, a recurve.
And Harvey Black said, "Thank you for your service."
Ah, no problem. No problem. Hard on the body, but that's it.
I know I saw another question in here or something. Someone asked, I don't see it here, but I know it says something about if they were asking if you were left-handed.
Left-handed. No, I'm right-handed. I had to think about that one. Yeah.
Making sure I'm up to catch. Kincaid says he has a 74-pound Black Widow longbow, myself in the left hand.
Aha.
And he also hunts with a recurve.
Good for him.
In Phoenix, he says, I'm not going to say the name, but he says the current health crisis destroyed hunting to trap. I don't know if Phoenix is up there where you are. Good night, Liz. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you always. I'm trying to see if I missed any questions, Charlie. Kind of going backwards here.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe Morgan, you're right. It says, why fish if you aren't going to eat it? And unfortunately, a lot of people just sport fish. They just kind of catch and release. And I think I even watched a video you were talking about, Charlie, with that when they put the fish back in, and you said that you were watching some sort of professionals and the fish starts to go sideways, and you were kind of describing that whole process.
Yeah, like when you're playing out a salmon, especially if it's a big salmon, like you pretty much got to exhaust that fish to get him in. And when a fish turns sideways like there, he gets air into his system, and you got to burp. You got to revive that fish until it burps, and you'll see as you're reviving them, you'll see burp, burp. So sometimes, you can play a fish and it'll take you 15, 20 minutes, or sometimes if you get a bigger one, it's going to take you a lot longer than that to get it in. And if you don't revive it, for every minute you got them on the rod, that's a minute you're doing a revival on that fish. I've seen a lot of fish come in sideways, and the boys just take the hook out and let it shake a couple times, and away it goes. As soon as that fish goes out into the current, if it's got air into his system, he's going to start rolling. And once that fish starts to roll, that's a dead fish. That's going down river. And I did swim throughs going down the river in summer and stuff, and swimming through the pools and seeing dead salmon on the bottom of the pools and stuff. And that's the ones that haven't been eaten by the eels and by the mink and by the otters, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the bears and whatever, the birds, the gulls, the eagles.
I think Joe Morgan has a question. He says, ask him if the old skills would have died off after his generation if the current crisis hit and piqued interest. I'm trying to decipher that. I think I said it right. Ask him if the old skills would have died off after his generation if the current crisis hit and piqued interest.
I guess he's talking about the crisis of COVID, is it?
I think it's the health crisis what he's talking about.
Who died off after his generation? I don't know. There's a lot of people out there now trying to bring it back through this bushcraft movement and stuff. Like bushcrafting seems to be a very popular way for people to build up a good, healthy population of subscribers and stuff. And are they perfect when they start? No, nobody is. It's skills that you learn over time, and the first time you pick up an axe and start cutting with it, you're not going to be good at it. First time you use a saw, you're not going to be good at it. There's a rhythm, there's a flow, keeping everything in line and letting the tool do the work instead of you trying to force the work upon the tool. Just let the tool do what it's designed for. So do I think those skills would have died? Some may have, but I think there's enough people out there trying to learn how to set snares the proper way, trying to learn how to trap the proper way. Are they good at it when they first start? Nobody is, right? It's like picking up a paintbrush and you're not going to be a Picasso when your brush first touches the canvas. It's something that you got to learn certain strokes and certain ways to load your brush, and you know. So I don't know if I'm answering that question right or if I'm kind of dancing all around it, but it's I don't know. There's a lot of skills out there that, you know, they don't have out of the gate, but they watch YouTube, and you can see it. You can see, if you watch enough videos, you can see one person that'll do something, and others will kind of jump in on that little bandwagon and try it and modify it or whatever. So they're learning off of each other. So
Yeah, no, just want to state that, you know, Charlie has roughly about 30 years of experience in this, and that's why I find his channel very
50.
intriguing. 50?
Yeah.
50 years of experience. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Woo. Charlie, before I get into the next question, I had a question myself. Do you use a specific type of knife? Like, do you have a favorite knife that you use when you go out there?
Most of my knives were homemade knives. Even like my very first shade knife, like getting back into hunting and stuff, and using everything. We never had antlers that we hung on the walls for decoration. If they took a set of antlers home, they made belt buckles with it. They made handles for all sorts of cookingware and knives. My first knife was a moose horn handle knife, and we used to have a pulp and paper mill here, and the slitter blades that were used for cutting paper. Dad had got his hands on a bunch of that metal, and Dad made up knives and axes and tomahawks and all that kind of stuff with that. So I guess my own favorite knife is the one that my dad made. It's a homemade knife.
That makes sense, brother.
Yeah.
That rich history, man, and that's awesome.
Well, did everything, you know, they did everything. And there's some things that they did that I wish I would have learned. But again, you know, it's as you grow up, you got different interests and stuff, and there comes a time when you're out trying to chase girls and stuff when you should probably be learning some of the skill sets. And then by the time I was 21, I had joined the forces and I went away. And by the time I come back, you know, that's almost 30 years later. A lot of you know, Dad wasn't doing the things that he used to do, but, you know, like making the traditional Mi'kmaq snowshoe, you know, going out and harvesting the wood. They could go out, they could look at, we call it wood chisel, which is actually a yellow birch. And that's the wood that they use for making their snowshoe frames and stuff, right? And they could look at it, and you could tell by the way the bark was going on to the tree if that you cut that one or leave that one, because you didn't want a twisted wood, one that was twisty. You wanted good grains in your wood and stuff. And I don't know if I have the mold out there. I might have gotten rid of it after Dad passed, but for making the snowshoes, because they had a pegboard, and you had a mold of the frame of the snowshoe. Well, I can show you 1 second here.
And while Charlie's going to grab that, man, like I said, man, I feel it's extremely important. Like I said, that's why I wanted to bring Charlie on the channel and get him some exposure. Not that he needs it; he has a lot of subscribers, but I mean, for some of us preppers that kind of don't know who Charlie is just some of his techniques and the skills that he shows on his channel. It could be very valuable to you folks.
So this is a traditional type of Mi'kmaq snowshoe, and all the framing is made with wood chisel or white birch, what we call wood chisel, and the babish is from cowhide. And we don't use moose hide because when wet, moose hide will stretch. Like you got to put shellac and everything over your babish, which is the hide of the animal, and the shellac keeps it waterproof. When the shellac breaks down and moisture is able to get into the babish, if you're making a snowshoe out of moose hide, that moose hide will stretch. So when your snowshoe is sitting on top of the snow, your foot is coming your snowshoe, the rim of your snowshoe is up around your thigh when you're in the deep snow. You know what I mean? It's all stretched right down. So it becomes useless. And they used to make snowshoes even for their horses, for hauling wood out. Yeah, yeah. They were round. The horseshoes or the snowshoes for the horse were round. But yeah.
That's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to catch back up in chat. I think Harvey Black had a question. He says, how's the fishing up there, Charlie? What types of fish do you catch?
In the freshwater, we catch, well, we always start off on the 15th of May with trout. You got your speckled trout, and you got your sea trout, and you got brown trout, like German brown. But they're very selective where the German browns are, and I think they were introduced. I don't know if they come here on their own or if they were brought over and released here, and they're only in some rivers. Then we got, you got your Atlantic salmon, but we got a lot of the stuff that we fish for too, where it'd be like mackerel and cod, right? Then you got lots of fish out there in the ocean. You got your certain types of rays, and you got flounders and flatfish and all kinds of stuff like there, and halibut. But I never did go out onto the salt water fishing for those. The only thing I fish for on salt water is mackerel, cod, and I guess mackerel, cod, and smelt. Right now, I can go smelt fishing down in some of the inlets. I don't know. I haven't been down there. I heard they're not having a good year. Poor ice and a lot of open water, and they're not catching a lot of smelts. But normally I go down and I catch a feed. Nobody here in the house likes smelts. I like a couple of fries a year, but I have some elderly people that live around me that enjoy it. So I'll go out them and catch them a couple of dozen each,
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the way it was. You always fed the elders before you fed yourself. So even to this day, when I go rabbit catching, I don't get to eat my first number of rabbits that I catch. They always go to elders that can't get it on the land and do it for themselves anymore.
If we could just get folks to think that way again, I think this world would be a better place, to be honest with you, brother.
Yeah, well, it's, you got to have them appreciate, because if they weren't here and if they didn't do the things that they did, we wouldn't be here. Because back when I grew up, you were raised by a community, and everybody had the right to correct somebody. If somebody was doing wrong, everybody had a right to correct the ones out there doing wrong, the kids out there getting themselves into trouble. Nowadays, if you yell at somebody else's kid, Lord have mercy, you're going to be charged with verbal abuse and this and that. Lord, they did a lot more than yell back in the day, Yeah, so you made sure if you stepped out of the line, anybody had a right to correct you, and that was old school, right?
Right.
The community to raise a child, and I believe that.
I saw something come up here. Oh, good night, Mrs. Prepping Plumber. She probably already took off. She has to get up at 4:45 in the morning, and I probably already missed it because that was about 9:53 and it's 10:01. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind in chat. Let me see. Where is it at? I saw something up here. Hoot Owl says, "You are magical. Looks like Wolf is in your studio with you." You see, take care. Harvey Black says, Charlie, tell us about the wolf you walked with.
Oh, okay. I don't know what it is, but I got a pretty good connection with the animals. I kind of know how it works. And in fact, I do know how it works, but I don't share it with everybody how it works. Because I don't think people would use those skills in a good manner. You know, I think they would use it in a greedily way. You know,
Yeah, no,
um,
I can see where you're going with that.
yeah. But there was I was able to, and I did it with more than one wolf, but I only told the story of the one wolf. But I come across a wolf one day, and unfortunately, I didn't have my camera with me, and I never had no gun or nothing. But I got out and I started walking with this wolf, and that wolf, it was so curious. Like I love I love wolves. I love listening to wolves howl. And some people say it's scary, some people say it's eerie, but for me, it's a calming, peaceful. When the sun is setting and it's getting dark, and you can listen to wolves howling. To
Hmm.
me, that is just it's like, okay, I'm in the wild now, and I'm at home now. You know what I mean? Is this is good, but I wanted to see how close I could get to this wolf because I knew this wolf by his mannerisms and stuff. He was really curious, and I could tell that he wanted to come closer, but he wouldn't. And we had about a 15-yard barrier, and I tried multiple times to get inside of that barrier, but he wouldn't let me get inside of it. And anytime I got inside of it, he moved off, and then I had to slowly work my way back up to him. But we walked together through the woods for a good, I don't know, I never timed it, a good 30 minutes, but it could have been even 45 or closer to an hour. And at the end of it, I was starting to think, because wolves are pack animals. I wonder, am I being baited now? Where's this wolf taking me? You know what I mean? Yeah. But I never seen any other wolves with that wolf. There might have been some around, but I didn't see them. And it was a really good experience. And I could tell, but just by the way that wolf was moving, I could tell it wanted to come in, but it didn't trust itself. Like it'd come in and then it back up and it'd come in. But it was a really good experience, and uh,
Yeah,
I
that's
love having those encounters. Like one day, I had a little owl for no reason at all showed up, and it would pitch on my arm, and it would pitch. I was only 12 years old at the time. Pitch on my shoulder, and for all that day, everywhere I went, that owl would come and sit with me. And
that,
I'd be walking up and down the neighborhood, and the owl sitting on my shoulder. It was only a little owl, only about that high. But
that's pr-
yeah,
that's pretty cool, man.
yeah, I don't know why that happens, but I've caught grouse with my bare hands. I got a video actually. I showed. I was on actually a live chat, something like this, and then there was a guy called eFish3. He has a channel, eFish3. Go check him out too, guys. Anyways, he asked me, you know, if I could try catching a grouse with my bare hand. I said, yeah, I'll go out tomorrow and catch you one. And I filmed it, right? But it's hard to do when and get it on camera because I had to keep working the bird and then keep looking back to see where the camera was, and then I had to go back and I get the camera. So I was leave. It was um, a very broken up hunt. Normally, when I get on something like there, you just work it and you work and you work and you work it, and you're not worrying about the camera because you know.
Yeah,
And and but this one here took me a little bit longer than it normally takes to catch them. But I was able to go and get them in my hand. I brought it back out in front of the camera and stuff right there. And that's, I think it's called "How to Catch a Grouse with Your Bare Hands." Yeah, and I do it because you catch them a lot of times. Like if you're walking up in the woods and you got a snare or something in your pocket and you come across a grouse or whatever, you cut a long pole, and tie a snare around it, and you can pluck them out of the tree that way, right? But I've got a number of videos where I'm calling grouse and stuff and get them to come right up and sit on my lap and everything.
that's crazy.
Did you ever see any of those videos?
Not yet, brother, but I will.
How to call grouse? Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Northern Girl, you made a great statement. She says Charlie is awesome. I'm super excited that you have him on the channel, or have him here. And that's what I'm trying to do, Northern Girl. I want to bring some of these. There's so many great channels out there, and stumbling across some of these channels, it's just there's so much to be learned on some of these folks that you guys might not be exposed to. And I plan on doing this more often, is exposing, my subscribers to folks like Charlie. Cause I think it's just going to help you out down the road. And I find this content very valuable.
I try to do it in a, like all my videos. I try not to have any cursing and swearing. Sometimes I have somebody on there that's colorful, shall we say, very descriptive, and I try to beep out a lot of times. I cut the footage all told, but every now and then you may have a bad word slip into it. But I got 6 grandchildren right now, and I want them to be able to sit down and watch it. All the stuff I put out. So I try to have no cursing and swearing, and try not to have it too gory and stuff like that there. Like if I'm out hunting or whatever, try not to show all of that stuff, but just try to do it so that a whole family can sit down, whether you're 8 or 80, you can sit down and watch the footage and stuff. And a lot of times I'll talk as to what I'm going through and what my mindset is, because whatever animal you're trying to pursue, you got to get in the mindset of that animal. If I'm hunting moose, I'm thinking like a moose. You can't hunt moose thinking like a human. You got to hunt moose thinking like a moose. If you're hunting bear, you think like a bear. If you're hunting, rabbit, you think like a rabbit. Whatever you're going after, that's the kind of mindset that you gotta get into, and you gotta figure out what they're doing and why they do it that way, and that way it can help you figure out what your next step is and how you're going to harvest that animal.
This is gonna be totally out of left field, Charlie. Because I went and did something today for my subscribers, because I had an issue with my phone and stuff last week, and a lot of folks. And I'm curious. Have you ever seen an alligator up close and personal?
Alligator? No, not up here. That's one thing we don't have. They don't come this far north.
Well, I went today. I went to a marshland with my wife, and I got up real close and personal with probably a dozen or so gators, and got it on film. And I'm going to be sharing that with folks here. I think maybe Thursday morning I'm going to put the video together. But I just wanted to share that with you guys, because you guys have been tuning in here, staying here, hanging out with us this long. We're a little over an hour. And I want to let you guys know it's going to be a surprise thing. If you've never seen a gator, you're going to see me get up pretty close and personal with some alligators. And it was a great afternoon that I got to spend with the wife and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that content when I put it all together for you folks. And
I'm glad you came back here instead of being gator food tonight.
yeah. And I was pointing at one because she was my eyes, because the gator's basically like 3 foot, 4 foot right behind me. And there were some big boys out there tonight or this afternoon. And I'm pointing, I said, make sure you watch for me, because they move quick. And I'm pointing at the gator to make sure that he doesn't touch or that he doesn't move forward. Because depending on the way, you can't really fear them. And you got to, being in Florida, I'm very familiar with gators themselves. So I've been around them a lot. But I'm sitting there pointing at that gator, and it's probably maybe 3 feet away from me. And most folks would not get that close to a wild alligator out there in the field. I even caught one with his mouth wide open, and you can just see pretty much down his throat. Huge, powerful mouth. So it's going to make good content, and I hope the folks will enjoy it.
You wouldn't want to get caught in that death roll.
For sure, brother. For sure. What's up, Mark? Saw you pop in there, and you pop in and out. He's at work. He said he's going to catch the replay. Good night, cat lady. You probably already left, but I still want to say good night to you. It takes a neighborhood. It was like that. I got spanked with people are talking about stay safe. Y'all pray. Hey, Mark. Hey, B. Let me see. Have a good night. Wolves are, Northern Girl says, wolves are messengers. I'm trying to see back here if I'm missing anything. Phoenix Double D said, my dad would clean and debone the smelts and then fry them. Be Charming said, that's awesome. I'm assuming she's talking about the story of the wolf and the owl.
But I got to do that with a lot of different animals. Like I said, the grouse I play with a lot of times, and moose, caribou. I walked up and I touched wild moose and caribou. Yeah, gators can run up to 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, they can move. They can, once they get up, and that's why you got to watch their mannerisms. You got to watch the way gators are moving. You got to watch, because these guys, because it's been not really cold here in Florida, but it's been chilly. So I knew that they were going to be out sunning themselves, and they get really lazy, and kind of comfortable with folks in that area because it's along these paths, these interwinding paths in this marshland, and a lot of folks will go out there to take pictures and stuff like that. So that's the main reason I knew out there, because I knew I'd find tons and tons of gators out there. It's you got to know what you're doing when you get close to them. Folks will usually stay 30, 40 feet away from them, but I got pretty close. Even my wife was like, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" I'm like, "I got this." If anything,
I pet a wild gator once.
I did bring my IFAC. I did bring my trauma kit just in case something went sideways.
Yeah.
Nomad Prepper, I just saw something. Gators can run up to, yeah. We have a 5-foot gator in our pond right now. Yeah, Nomad, we have gators everywhere in my area. You can go to the nearest retention pond and you'll most likely find a gator.
Well, I tell you what, if a gator can run 30 miles an hour, I can run 31. Yeah, a gator coming after me, I guarantee. I'll be like that lizard. You know that lizard that runs on top of the water? Plack, 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 plack. That'd be me.
Harvey Black, and I can tell Harvey watches your content because he says, before Charlie goes, can we hear his moose call or some other calls?
Ooh, I can't really because it's late here. It's 11:43, and everybody else is in bed. So I would love to do that. I don't know if can we share a moose call with them, like on one of my videos.
It may be hard to hear the audio. We might get some echoing or whatnot, but we could always, I plan on doing maybe some more work with you down the road, and we can do some early streams as well.
Okay, yeah.
I think we should, because there's so much more that we can go into. We're at a little over an hour. Usually I run these interviews about an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. You got this till you don't. My sister
I think, After 5 Outdoors, Cody at After 5 Outdoors, I think he had me on there, 2-3 hours one night. I don't mind. I'll talk.
I like having folks on too. It's usually on the weekdays, as it starts getting later, folks will start to drop off and whatnot. And so I try to, when I start seeing a heavy drop in viewers, then I'll kind of try to wrap it up. Because either people have to either work in the morning or whatnot like that. And I think right now we're still holding pretty steady. We've been holding between 48 to 55, kind of floating around in there with folks. So there seems to be a lot of folks intrigued by our interview, our interactions and stuff like that. Yeah, Be Charming. Definitely go check Charlie's stuff. He has some great content out there. Real quick, while I have you guys here, and I know there's members. I have members in the chat that are part of the Grey Nation, Grey family, and all that fun stuff like that. And I'm going to be doing that giveaway video for you folks. If you're not a member yet, you might be interested. I'm going to be giving away 2 knives. I'm going to be giving away the Becker BK2 and the Gerber Strong Arm for the members. Members only giveaway. But the reason I'm bringing that up is I also wanted to talk about, so Amendment 1 Preparedness sent me these 2 Baofeng radios. They're the UV5Rs. And as soon as we get to 5,000 subs, we're going to do a subscriber giveaway. So everybody on the channel, it won't be limited to members. It'll be to everyone. We're going to be giving away 2 UV5R radios for if anybody who needs comms. We're going to be giving that away on the channel. So thank Amendment 1 Preparedness for that. He does not have a channel. He just wanted to do that and help me out to try to get to 5,000 subs. We're almost there. I think when last time I looked, we're like around 4,400 subs. So the channel is growing. I think that's really cool. It's been on a consistent, first we had a little bit of a hump and then it's been growing. Plus all you guys that do the super chats, all you guys that do the super stickers, the members, everybody who likes the videos, shares the videos, all you subscribers are help building this, I don't want to say brand, but this channel and getting these messages out. So I want to appreciate that. Just to kind of like say what's up to everybody and thank you for what you guys do for me. Because without you, I would not be a channel. And so that being said, does anybody else have any more questions for Charlie in regards to some of the discussions we talked? Because we could probably just ramble on about a lot of different things, but we'd like to get some feedback from you guys. If you guys had some other questions that you guys would like to ask Charlie before we, run this a little, before we wrap things up.
Northern Girl Hobby says she'd like to get in contact with me. She's Canadian and Indigenous. Güey, de Luisis, que la mucho la desio. I just told her hello. My name is Walk with Spirits in Mi'kmaq. Anyways, I have a Facebook page called NLGhostWolf.
That's
So
pretty.
all one word. So just join up to that Facebook page, Northern Girl Hobbies.
What's up, Ugly Prepper? I saw someone saw it pop in there. Great piece of kit. Yep, Patty Bob, they are great radios, and that's why I thought Amendment 1, who sent those to me, I went and checked my P.O Box today, and he had told me he sent them, so I had to go grab those from the P.O Box. Plus, he sent me a couple other things. I had to talk to him. I guess he just sent me some stuff to just show me appreciation, and I'm thinking, Hutch, I appreciate that, Hutch, man. This is not a bribe. This is a wink, wink. Thanks for the super chat. That's the first super chat of the night. Have you been monetized, Charlie? Because I know you have enough subs and you have great content.
No, I about 6 years ago, YouTube wanted you to put your name to your channel, and I didn't want to do that because I already had people following it, and I just didn't want, like, I don't know a lot about computers and privacy issues, and I didn't want to put my name out there. And everybody on my channel now knows my name and all that stuff, and that's fine. But and I got more comfortable with it because at first I wasn't, it was all new to me, so I wasn't comfortable with it, right? But I ended up building a second channel called Charlie White, and on that second channel, I don't have any videos or any subscribers, but I did it to quieten down the YouTube at the time. And when I go to get monetized now, when I try to get the AdSense put into my NLGhostWolf, I guess, I don't even call it channel, it always diverts me over to Charlie White channel. So I got a little bit of, I'm reaching out to YouTube now, and I'm going to send all my stuff off to my son. And maybe one day I might have to delete it all and start fresh. But yeah, I don't know. I think I might have 7,000 or over 7,000. I don't know what I got for subscribers, but I've never been monetized. So it's, and I know once you get monetized, you start running ads, then YouTube is going to start, I guess you go into a certain algorithm, and well, if you're working for them, they're going to work for you and help get your videos seen by more people. So
that's what I learned as well. And that's why I think B Charming said, good for him not monetizing. There is a benefit to monetizing other than the financial aspect. B, it's YouTube starts putting you up in the key. And so you're going to be exposed to a lot more people and seeing your channel and seeing your content. So which then gets the message out. It gets like, let's say, Charlie's training out there and some of his skills out there to more folks. And let's say like Hutch did that. Like I said, Hutch did that $2 donation or super chat, as they called, pretty much, compared to what AdSense is, people who do like the super chats, that helps, folks, let's say like how you, Charlie, you just got a Hero 9 Black, you said, for the channel to get better content because you want to do better videos. It helps some of the creators to produce better content for you, to upgrade some of their gear so that they can hone some of this stuff. Like I told most folks, I don't know about you, Charlie, if it works out for you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically pour any of the odds and ends that I get from YouTube, which is not much, to be honest with you, and pour it back into the channel, and try to upgrade software, gear, cameras, and stuff like that. So
absolutely,
you just make better content, and do better things.
And for someone like myself, I was thinking about it, like, because people are after me all the time to try and monetize, and they, it's, maybe a tank of gas for your Skidoo or for your side-by-side or for your truck to take you out on your next adventure. You're not going to make a lot of money at it unless you become, tons and tons of subscribers. But I'm not in this for the money. And I started my channel for my dad because I wanted to get the videos. Oh yeah, I got sidetracked on that. I didn't even finish that off, did I?
Well, it's a good point you said that, Charlie. I just want to touch on that before we go there. Is you should never, ever, ever start really YouTube to make money. You know what I mean? Because it'll take you probably over a decade if you're really, unless you're one of those special super, I don't know how it works, but it's not like a monster money generating machine. Like someone asked me once, would I ever leave my job? I will not. I'm never going to count my blessings on YouTube to provide for my family. Never, never.
Yeah.
It's if when you stop enjoy, I do this because I enjoy it. I enjoy interacting with folks on chat. I enjoy meeting people like you. And that's why I'm doing YouTube, because I enjoy it. Once you stop enjoying it, then you might as well not even do YouTube, to be honest with you. And this is my opinion.
Yeah, oh, 100%, you know. And after a while, you build up such a good subscriber base, and you get that bond and you become friends with all these people. And then, you know, you feel it's like if I don't put a video in a while, I was like, geez, man. And if I go downtown, everybody will come up and be like, yeah, everything okay? You haven't seen a video in a while or whatever. So I know I got to keep putting the videos out there for people so they can keep, you know, seeing some content, I guess. And especially now, maybe because of this pandemic and stuff, maybe, you know, a lot of times we get stuck in this isolation and not out and doing the stuff that we normally do. Well, it gives people another option to sit down and watch something easy watching, I guess.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, man. The people I've met on through YouTube and stuff like that, there's been some great folks, and the subs are always super supportive. You know, it blows my mind. You know, like I said, I just did a quick video because I was supposed to put out content on Wednesday because I kind of have like a schedule, and I lost and destroyed my phone, and I just did a video about me losing my phone and apologizing to everybody. And just that video alone has gotten so many views because the subscribers just they care. You know what I mean? They care about us as content creators and as folks, which to me is just it's very heartwarming, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, oh, 100%. You know, it's and like I said, getting back to why I kind of started my channel because Dad couldn't get out, and once he got his vision corrected, what I was doing, I was going out and I was filming an adventure, and then I was coming home, I was burning it off on DVD, then I was sending it to him in the mail, and I was away in the forces at the time. And then one of the guys at work, so sometimes if I went out on an adventure, he wouldn't get to see it until 2, 3 weeks later, depending how long it took me to edit it up and put it on the DVD and get it to the post office. And so what I ended up doing was talking to one of the guys at work, and he said, well, why don't you just put it onto YouTube? I said, well, what's that? He said, well, you can go out and film an adventure today and go home that evening, upload it to YouTube, and your dad can watch it as soon as it's uploaded that same night. I said, no way, nothing like that exists, right? So yeah, that's how I got involved with YouTube, right? It was, and I just did it for my dad, and now I keep doing it for my subscribers and for my kids and my grandkids, because there's going to come a time when, like Dad, I'll pass on, and it's nice to leave some of that, I guess, lifestyle or look into the past, you know, because I'm kind of old school in a lot of ways. So it's nice to have that little bit of a history, that little bit of a connection to who we are and where we come from, I think.
Yeah, it's almost like a kind of like a little bit of an autobiography when it comes back. And I thought about that too, that my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids, you know, might come back and look at some of these videos and look at, hey, that's great granddad on that screen there, and look at what he was doing out in the woods, or what he was discussing in that time. It's like almost like going back in history. So I do think YouTube has, you know, the platform itself is pretty interesting, even though they can be, I guess I want to say, mean sometimes, but you know, it's definitely pretty interesting how you can use this platform to do stuff for, you know, for generations to come.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like you said, your grandkids and your great grandkids say, look, that's great granddad rolling around with that alligator. Yeah.
Let me see. I thought I just saw something. Good night, Cherokee. Any final? Be charming. Do either of you store your videos off YouTube? Should it be gone one day? I can answer that really quick. First for you, B. Yes, I have a secondary hard drive outside of the PC that I store all my videos on, just in case anything does ever happen to this channel. I have all that history backed up. on that. I have a backup in the PC and a backup on an external hard drive that I separate from the entire system. And that's why I created a backup channel, and I'm not going to feed everybody over there. It doesn't really need to be. A lot of people follow me on other social media like Instagram, Twitter, MeWe, and all the other stuff like that.
I don't know how to do none of that stuff.
Well, we can get together, Charlie, and I can give you all the information I learned, because I like working with other creators. I think even Hutch. I think if Hutch is still in chat, I think he is. I've talked to him about certain things that you can do with StreamYard. Matter of fact, me and Rudy over at Alaska Prepper were talking about stuff like that, because he's going to teach me some things and I'm going to teach him some things. So it's outside of just the just having interviews and stuff like that. Working with other content creators, sharing knowledge and sharing information, I think is really cool. So
for sure. And if anybody who's interested in getting started with your own channel and all that stuff, if you go on yourself and you're just being on your own, you don't grow too fast. But if you got a good network of people that you work with, you'll grow better. And if you're, don't ever be jealous of somebody. If maybe one day you got more subscribers than them, and then all of a sudden they get you more subscribers than you, well, that's good for them. Like, just help each other out and be happy for them, and be happy for their growth. And I think if you look at it that way and work with each other and not against each other, then everybody will have a good chance to grow and stuff like that. And sometimes some of my stuff goes to a cloud backup. I don't know how to get to the cloud, but it's going to a cloud somewhere. It's, saved in the cloud.
I'm trying to see if I missed it. Joe Morgan, what did he say here? Hutch, there we go. Joe Morgan says, what do you think the next big thing will be? In the last year, we have seen a lot. What do you think next thing will be? Joe Morgan, you mean like here in the U.S., like what's the next thing, the big thing that the government is going to do? Is that what you mean, Joe? I don't know if you can clarify for me and throw it back up there if that's what you mean.
Phoenix City, you can't see me on Facebook. Charlie White. My name is Charlie White.
Yeah, because did you work that out? Or are you streaming on Facebook right now?
I think I put it over on one channel. I'll go to I'll put another link over to my other. I gotta keep opening up tabs because I only got the one screen here.
You're fine, brother.
Man, can you guys still see me?
I can still see you. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I'm just going into the Newfoundland. Oh, it's Newfoundland. It's not NL. It's Newfoundland GhostWolf. I don't even know what my own page is called.
That was what I mean. I don't have access to the cloud online storage. It's gone forever. Oh, that's a shame, B. Joe Morgan, like the next bad thing. Well, Joe, I don't think they're done with the health crisis yet, with the multiple versions of the all the different iterations of it. And then, knowing, I'm trying to be careful with my words here because, I have Charlie on here and I don't want to do anything or say anything crazy, but I think there's some stuff going on overseas that might draw us into some conflict and some other things out there. So there's things I'm assuming there's things. Plus, we also have, and I don't know how much you know about stuff like this, Charlie, here in the U.S., but I feel that there's going to be some sort of economic and food crisis heading our way as well in the next few years, or even earlier than that, just the way things are going.
Well, our grandchildren's grandchildren are going to be paying off the debt the governments have raised over this pandemic. I guarantee you that.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of you guys in Canada. I've talked to Northern Girl and some other Canadians out there. You guys have gone through a lot through this as well.
Oh yes, yeah. We were just I think we're at stage 4 or stage 3 right now, and we have at stage 5. It's lockdown. It's you. You're a one house bubble. No other bubble. Many of the businesses, everything closes. Essential workers only. You call in your orders for your food. You go down. You call the store when you get there. Someone will bring it out. You load it into your cart or your vehicle, and away you go, type thing, right? And probably about a month and a half ago, maybe a little bit further than that, we had the UK variant hit Newfoundland, and that was spreading like wildfire. And but right now, I think we're down maybe 5 active cases of COVID in the whole entire province. And then sometimes, for the longest time, we had none. And that's the one good thing about being onto an island is you kind of can control it a little bit. But the problem here, we have a lot of Newfoundlanders that don't want to leave home, so they work away. So in their travels to and from work, they're contacting COVID. But there's restrictions in place if you're a out of province worker. When you come home, you got to isolate 14 days, self quarantine, and all this stuff, right? And for the most part, people are really, really good at adhering to those rules, and we don't have too much social gathering and all that stuff. Although we're very social people, we're very social people. Like when the towers struck, when they flew the planes into the towers.
Mm-hmm.
I remember. Everybody probably remembers where they were that day, but I was still in the forces at that day, and we had planes getting diverted all over the place. And they did something. Come From Away, I think, is a major play that's on Broadway, and I don't know if it's still there, but it showed some of the people where the planes had come to Newfoundland, and people were taken into the Newfoundlanders' homes and stuff, and they were giving them clothes. Because they only had a little bit of stuff that they traveled with, so they were feeding them, giving them clothes, giving them shelter, giving them rides, giving them tours around
Wow.
the communities and stuff. And they end up making it into a big Broadway play. I think it might be called Come From Away, and it talks about the I guess the hospitality of Newfoundlanders and stuff. And that's the one thing that you hear a lot of people that come to the island for the first time. They can't believe how friendly everybody is. But it's a bit of a different world nowadays with this pandemic, right? Everybody's kind of keeping to themselves and stuff. And I hope one day we'll come back to a normal way of living and a normal way of gathering and being social, and we can do it without the face masks and stuff.
Yeah. And Harvey Black, you are correct. Learn to garden, hunt, fish, trap, clean, cook, and how to properly store now because you may need it badly later. 100% agree.
I'm gonna do some. Well, my plan is we'll have to wait and see because, like I said, right now there's some personal stuff going on here with my wife going through treatments and stuff. But if I get the opportunity, I'm gonna do some gardening the way the old folks used to do it. Excuse me. They would go out to the brooks and find spots where the alder beds are, and you get this really nice black soil in these alder beds. And they'd clear out a spot in there, and they would plant some vegetables, and it's right alongside the brooks. So you were able to carry your water to your gardens. So you clear out different little plots alongside of the brooks and plant your garden. So in one little plot, you'd have some potatoes. In the next little plot, you may have some beets. In the next one, you have some turnips and some carrots. And every year, then you rotate your crops. Where you had your carrots planted 1 year, you plant your beets and so forth and so on, right? And that was the way that the old fellas used to do it. Go out in the woods and
that's pretty neat.
Gardens. Yeah.
I got all notifications set on your channel now, so I get anything you do. It's getting popped up there. I saw this pop up in chat. It said Scott Ward says, "I remember when the Newfies did that. My aunt was one of the people who the Newfies helped out."
Oh, good. And I'm sure she had a good time when she was here. A month, that was a bad time for everybody when that happened. We went to war again, but
And Northern Girl says, "Prayers for your wife, Charlie."
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
There is a question. I think CB said, "Do you think all the game will be hunted out and all fished out at some point?"
No, I think conservation works. we've proven that preservation doesn't work. Conservation does work, and as long as as long as we have conservation officers and we have good people out there following good practices, that uh, there will always be game here to hunt. There should be, unless the climate changes to so much that those animals are not able to survive. Um, yeah, I think, we'll always have the game as long as we're not greedy. We got to make sure you always leave something there for to repopulate, right?
And yes, and sorry, Harvey also was sending prayers your way as well.
Perfect.
And Scott Ward said, yes, she did. She still has contact with the family that helped her, which is really cool.
Good. And another thing too, like if you leave the animals go and you don't hunt them and all that stuff, they'll it's called carrying capacity. So if this was an acre of land, and on this acre of land you had, we'll talk in what you guys have down your way, deer and stuff. So maybe on an acre of land, you can that acre can support, let's say, 5 deer year round. Maybe it can support 10 deer year round. But if the animals are left to overpopulate, what happens? They end up eating themselves at a house and home. And I can't remember, but it's a staggering number of how much forest land and wildlife habitat we lose on a daily basis because how human population is growing and developing. You're losing wetlands, you're losing all sorts of stuff to industrial parks and shopping malls and homes and subdivisions and so all these animals are forced to now come into smaller and smaller areas, and they end up eating themselves at a house and home, and that's when starvation starts to happen. And when they get into a starvation state, I've seen this firsthand when I was a trapper for the DNR, and that's when disease will start breaking out, because it's like humans, even humans. Like if you look at the third world countries in the world, like Ethiopia and stuff, where there's just not enough food to support the human population, and you look, they're undernourished and all that stuff, and the body gets weak and it can't fight for itself, and disease and illness spreads to a weaker, sicker population, and there's a lot of death. And that same practice that happens to us happens in the animal world. So, yeah, I think if we keep growing the way we are, and if we keep destroying the habitat, we're going to lose a lot. But if we keep the good, healthy practice with conservation and keep some areas protected and stuff, I think we'll be okay. I hope we will be, anyways.
Northern Girl said, Charlie, my question, how many actual conservation officers are you seeing out there?
I'm friends with a bunch, and a lot of them tune into my channel. So, because sometimes I give them a bit of a hard time too, different topic, but anyway, I see conservation officers every single year when I'm out in the woods, but I'm out in the woods almost every single day, so I'm out there a lot. So I do get to see them, and like I said, I'm friends with some, and I call them, they call me, and whatnot. So
it's nice to have relationships with folks like that. You know what I mean?
well, and it's good too, because like I want to make sure, where I got a YouTube channel, I want to make sure everything I do is 100% legal, so that if I'm teaching it for others to go out and learn, I don't want them to get in any trouble.
Right.
So everything I do, and if there's anything I question or I don't know the answers to, then I pick up the phone and I call the head guys. I jump the scale. Who's the head guy? Put him on the phone. That's the guy I want to talk to.
I see B Charmer says, so don't complain when the wildlife eats your garden. Hey, they got to eat too.
Yeah.
But Northern Girl said I guess they have one conservation officer that runs a huge area over where she's at.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And I know here too, like there's times in years and in hard cases nowadays they have better ways of tracking us. But before people had cell phones and stuff like there, we had pay phones.
Hmm.
And I know, like here we have just in my area, we have about 8 rivers within an hour's drive that have good salmon fishing into it. And what the poachers would do, they would get together at a bar and have a few drinks, to get their courage up, I guess. And then they would go out to net a river. But before they go to net a river, they would make a call into the dial poacher or whatever it was, and say, "Look, we were here at this bar on this day, or just now. We heard that so and so are planning to go out and net Harry's River. They said they're going up to Rocky Pool and Harry's River, because here we have all the rivers have names, all the pools and runs on that river have names. Everything has a name. We all have place names." So they would call in and report, and when they had received these reports, then they had to act on them. So it was the poachers calling in fake information to send the wildlife out to guard a certain river where they thought something was going down. Meanwhile, they knew that all the fishery officers are now out on Harry's at Rocky Pool waiting for them to show up at 3 o'clock in the morning and net the river. They go off to Barshwell Brook and net that river because the wildlife, they sent them to another river. You know what I mean? But nowadays you can't really do that because there's ways of tracking and tracing the calls and stuff like that there. So it's just technology is helping out a little bit.
I was read. We got a fake bobblehead owl for our garden. Don't know if it's going to keep the predators out. It just made me laugh when I saw that, because I know some people do use like the scarecrows, the way people use scarecrows on their farms, and stuff like that. I'm kind of going to dive off topic real quick since I still have a bunch of you guys in here. In regards to Geared Up Wednesday, which is one of my things, Charlie, that I do. I have kind of like a schedule that I kind of do. Currently, it's working for me. Having a certain schedule that I do on YouTube. So people seem to like the diversity that I'm doing. But since I have you folks in there, just to ask you guys a quick question, because a lot of you guys watched that video where I lost my phone and that footage. Can I get I kind of want to do a poll real quick with you guys. If you can put a 1 in chat, if you want me to try to recreate, like basically, do you want me to break down my get home bag tomorrow for Geared Up Wednesday out in the woods, or would you guys rather see me do something else? So if you want me to do my get home bag, can you push number 1 or put 1 in the chat? And if you want me to do something else on let's say a different type of gear review or something like that, can you do number 2? I'm just going to see which direction I should go in here tomorrow. If you guys don't mind, I would appreciate that. It's going to help steer me in the right direction for tomorrow. And I'm just watching them come in. There we go. Thanks, Charlie. All right. So far, it looks like the majority. So far, it looks like all 1s except for 1, 2. Steve, I'm sorry. The 1s seem to have it. But Steve, I will be doing lots of gear reviews on Wednesdays. But a lot of folks have been asking for me to do to break down my get home bag and what I have in it. Not my bug out bag. This is my get home bag. This is the daily bag that I carry with me everywhere I go. Kind of like an EDC bag, if you want to call it that. But because I carry, I don't know if you do it. Well, Charlie, you're out there surviving every day, so you carry stuff on you all the time. All right, so it looks like the 1s have it, except for Eric. He's on number 3. He doesn't know. He wants me to do all of it. Really appreciate that, guys. I just wanted to get it kind of touch base with you guys real quick and see where I want to just make sure that if it was a good idea for me to kind of remake that that video. Yeah, it's my purse. Be charming. It is. It's a big purse. But anyways. So other than that, I don't know, Charlie. We've been here for an hour and 45 minutes. Do you have some things that you want to share with these folks, like what you got coming up on your channel and whatnot?
I'm not sure what's coming up. I know, like I was saying, my wife still has 2 more treatments, and for the first week after her treatment, and it's stretching a little bit longer now. So first week and a half, she don't feel good. She's tired. She's not sleeping well, and all that stuff. So 1 second there, I had a cough. I'll mute my mic. So I've been doing all my current videos just out of my back door. Soon now she's gonna swing around for the good, and I'll be getting into doing some trout fishing and some salmon fishing and stuff like that. And I'll go back and go back through the seasons, and when the berries come right, I'll go pick the berries and stuff like that. Everything we do is seasonal here type thing, right? We chase everything that we can harvest, whether it's hunting, fishing, or gathering, through the seasons. I was thinking about going out and doing some overnight camping in my canvas tent wood stove. I don't know if people would enjoy seeing that or not.
Is it the canvas tent that you that I watched that you put together and you did that wood stove and all that stuff in there?
Yeah, that was a terrible wood stove. I got a new wood stove for it now, man. That was bad. That was a bad night in the woods. Yeah, but it was, what you don't see in that video is I had the tent fairly sheltered, so there wasn't a lot of wind noise onto the tent. But above that was the winds were whipping, and it was kind of creating a Ventura effect. And it was just drawing all the heat and stuff right out of the stove. And basically, I was going through a stove full of wood in 1 hour. It would go from coals to stocking it full of wood to being burnt back out within an hour. So you go from being, ooh, it's getting cold, to holy Jesus, hot, because the stove was glowing, and then it started to cool off again. So every hour on the hour, I was getting out of the bunk to put wood into that stove. So I got a better stove now, and I haven't used it yet. So I'm curious I want to get out and give it a test.
It's good to test your gear. I tell that to folks all the time. Can't just buy it and put it in a bag and forget about it. You gotta use this stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, different climate now. We got a lot more winds than what we ever did, and winds can play a little bit of havoc, but because grew up camping on the rivers and stuff like that there, right, and waking up and there'd be frost on the ground, but it was I need to get a good setup for going out and do my little excursions. I need to get a bigger cot too, because I'm kind of broad across the shoulders and stuff, and I don't fit on a regular cot. If I'm laying on the cot, my arms and everything are hanging off the edges of it, so it's not comfortable. Yeah.
Sheila sent prayers your way, and Sheila, we're sending prayers your way as well.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
There's a lot of stuff. I was talking to Mark, because Mark was going through some from Rolling Homestead. His wife was going through some stuff as well. Thanks, Jeep Girl. She sent prayers your way as well. It seems like a lot of people are going through some rough times right now, especially with cancer and stuff like that.
Oh, there's so much of it around, so much of it around. And I'm not a big conspiracy theory believer and all that stuff. I do believe that there's a lot of conspiracies out there. I know that for a fact, and I was in the military. But you look at something like cancer, right? And the money that cancer donations and research and everything is generating is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. Why would they come out with a cure? Why would they come out with, you know what I mean?
No, I agree. I've dived into that rabbit hole quite some time myself. Me and Mark were talking about that, because he uses chaga and some other stuff that worked better than medications that they were giving, I think, his wife, if I'm quoting that correctly.
Yeah, that's another thing that we were taught how to use and find wild foods and stuff. And I drink chaga tea and all that stuff as well. And but using tree sap to close cuts and stuff. If you ever
Mhm.
cut, the gum bubbles on a fir tree,
Mhm.
put that into a cut and then take for a shot and stuff like that. Learned all those tricks and different medicines and stuff that you can get in the wild to help you out.
I plan on doing a mini series. I think that's what we're going to call it. Me and Mark and some other folks on the channel. We also I don't want to do any spoilers, but because we're going to do like this 3-part thing, and we're going to bring in some really we're trying to bring in some really known folks to assist with this. We're going to dive deep into the wild edibles and also the medicinal plants, and then at the end of this 3-part mini series, we're going to give away a bunch of books that have to do with with the content that we're discussing. And we're trying to reach out to this channel. I don't want to say who it is yet, just in case. But they were on a TV series on where is it at? Discovery. Whoever does the Alone series,
Yeah.
we're going to try to reach out to this person. They have, I think, over 1 million subscribers or whatnot, but they're very, very knowledgeable. So we are going to see what we can do and put this together because we find it's going to be super relevant information for folks, and we'll think it'll be a good thing for all the subscribers here to learn some of this stuff and go into great detail and have an opportunity to win some really good books that we use and that we study from.
Yeah.
Mushrooms are a thing. What?
Mm-hmm.
Love that idea, Gray. Good idea, Charlie. And Charlie, I'm going to take something out of your book. I was watching one of your videos, and I've been wanting to do this for a while. I just got to find the time to do it because I have a kind of a full-time job, a part-time job, and YouTube, which is kind of like another part-time job.
Mm.
Is I want to see what I can do. I want to build a shelter with just one tool, be it my bushcraft knife or be it just my silky saw. I want to just take one thing out in the woods and see if I can just build an entire shelter out there and just with one tool and kind of see where I go with it. Because I've seen the shelter that you built. You used a couple other odds and things, but you did some pretty cool stuff. That one shelter that you did.
Yeah, that was a shelter I was taught how to make, and it's a good shelter because it's a small shelter, but yet now I didn't build a complete shelter, and I told people at the beginning, you first thing you do is you build your bed, you lay down your logs, then you put down your boughs, and then you size the shelter to that. But I just did it on the bare ground there that day because I wasn't showing you how everybody knows how to build the bed for your
Mm-hmm.
shelter. I just wanted to show them the shelter, how it works and how easy it comes apart at the end of the day. And, because in case it ever caught fire in the middle of the night or whatever, you may need to bust out of that shelter in a hurry or whatnot. But yeah, that was a shelter that I was taught to build and to stay in. And instead of using the tarp, we used to use clear plastic, right? And that way you can get, when you drop your plastic door, you still get that in, I don't know if it's called induction, where you
Yeah.
getting the heat of the fire still coming inside and warming your shelter and stuff, right? You're blocking out I guess you're not letting the the warm air escape and you're getting that heat coming in and stuff like there. So yeah.
Yeah. I've been watching, I've been learning how some of this stuff works because I know how to build all types of different fires, but I've seen this, where you build a firewall, how you build up your rocks so the rocks kind of heat up and bring that heat towards you. So from my understanding, the heat rises, and as that cold air hits that heat, it pushes that heat inside the tent
Mhm.
or whatever, the shelter itself, whatever you got going to kind of keep that. It's like almost a climate of itself
Yeah, and if you
inside
have
of it.
a heat wall, excuse me again.
Charlie, you're muted. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, uh, where my wife is going through chemo. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
And her immune system's low. I'm drinking water with apple cider vinegar into it to try and keep my pH level at 7.
Hmm.
So but it causes me to have a very dry throat, and you hear me coughing after I talk a bit. So that's what's going on. I'm trying to do everything I can on my part to keep her safe while she goes through this, right?
Oh, you're fine, brother. Steve Smith, I'm assuming he's directing this question for you. He says, with all your experience, why don't you try out for a loan?
Oh no. Through my time in the military, into quite crippled up. Those days are behind me. I still got bone fragments in my ankle. I got bad knees, bad hip, 9 deteriorating vertebrae in my back and neck and stuff. So the body was put through a lot of abuse over time. So uh, and now I'm up in my 50s there. So it's all catching up to me. But
And
yeah, I was asked to do a reality show, a few years ago, and I ended up turning it down because it was kind of like in the Mountain Men shows,
Mhm.
where I would be one character that the cameras would follow around as I go through the season type thing.
Okay.
And we had a lot of emails back and forth, and they're very reputable, and they have a lot of shows that were on the air before they reached out to me and still on the air. So it probably would have worked out, but they asked if they could conduct an interview for me for the show, and I said sure. So we ended up doing it over the phone because I was up in Labrador at the time, and after about an hour, they they said we want you for the show. I told them, I said, I'm retiring from the military and I'm going back to Newfoundland. So, no, we still want you. I said, okay. uh, but anyway, after an hour, they said, would you be interested in doing it? I said, sure. I said, but there's one thing. And they said, what's that? I said, I don't want any of that trumped up drama, like that scripted drama. And they said, well, Charlie, there's got to be scripted drama. I said, listen, I'm out there calling bull moose into 12 yards away. I said, that's drama right there. I hunt black bear with a bow and arrow. That's drama right there. Everything I do out on the land, crossing the countries that I go through, like some of the places up there, skidoos. I've seen skidoos disappear. Because here we get a tree. It's called we call them tuckamores, and what it is a very stunted fir tree, and the limbs and the boughs are so thick. What happens is when the snow first comes, it settles on these boughs. So uh, you look and you can only see the tops of the trees, but when you're going across these bogs, sometimes there's nothing underneath. So
Mm.
you may have 4 or 5 feet of snow, and then you may have an 8-foot drop down to the ground, but you think you got snow right to the ground. So when you're going along, I seen skidoos, guys going along on skidoo, and next thing you know, poof, skidoo is gone. They're gone. They're down into a big hole, right? So yeah, everything you do here is drama. You know what I mean? I didn't need none of that. And when they said they had to be the fake drama, I told them I didn't want no part of it.
Yeah, it's and that's what sucks about a lot of that stuff like that, because I've dug into it myself just out of curiosity, and there's a lot of it is just they add that fake drama in there, and I agree with you. Having a let's say dealing with a bear or an angry moose or something like that, that's drama enough. You don't need to add some sort of hodgepodge fake stuff in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just all trumped up fake. I didn't need that. I didn't want that. And then I find it would make me look bad. Like I'm not prepared. If they because you see certain episodes like uh I've used this one before on one of the other live chats I did, where a guy is out trapping. He walks around this little inlet and goes and checks his trap line. Now he's coming home. It's getting late. He doesn't know if he has time to make it all the way around and get back to his cabin before it gets dark. So he's thinking about crossing the inlet. He doesn't know if the ice is safe enough. Right there, they just set up, goes to commercial break, comes back after commercial. They show us the guy making 1 or 2 steps out onto the ice. Kabloosh. He's up to his waist in water now. Gets out of that. Now he's got to build an emergency shelter or fire and shelter or whatever. Like, come on, let's do this real. Like, you're just making that guy look bad, because what was taught to me by my father and what was taught to him by his father and so forth and so on is every step you go into the woods, you go slower because you're that much further away from help. So, you don't go running around. You see them. What's it called? The Alaskan Bushmen?
Oh, the Alaskan bush family or something like that.
You see them jumping out of trees and jumping off of banks, and no, man, you're out there. You're making sure every time you plant your foot, you're not rolling your ankle, breaking your knee, like, how good are you when you break your ankle or breaking? I can tell you right now, you're not that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is scripted, and I've noticed with that, you know what I mean? And you think you're watching some good content, and then you find out it's all scripted, and it's just like, I just wasted hours of my life watching this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's why some folks like, let's say folks like you, Charlie, or YouTubers in general, is because we're just going out there and whatever happens. It might not be as exciting as, some of the stuff you see on TV, but that's scripted. But we provide entertainment for folks, because a lot of folks are done with, the regular TV. A lot of folks come to YouTube for their entertainment.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think we just hit 2 hours, Charlie. I think we probably should call it, man. It's late,
Good
man.
to me, man. It's 12:30 here in Newfoundland.
Yeah. So what time is it here for me? 11 o'clock, man. So you guys are ahead of us.
Yeah, hour and a half.
Well, brother, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on the channel, man. It was a pleasure. Hopefully we'll get to do this again sometime. And if you ever do a live stream, you want me to come over there with you, man, I am open to that as well, brother.
Oh, 100%. And I will. I'm going to download the software called, I think it's called OBS.
I'm familiar with OBS. I have it. I've been using StreamYard because it's a little bit more easier and functionality wise. But you can actually mix OBS and StreamYard together.
Yeah, and the thing I like about it, I can put my green screen, because I got a green screen. I can put the green screen behind me, because this is a spare bedroom where I got the computer and everything is set up right. And for when we get family visiting and stuff like that there. But I'd like to be able to put a green screen behind me and then show some of the pictures and maybe some of the videos, and I'm able to take from what I can gather on OBS. I'm able to take and downsize myself and put me off in the bottom corner.
Mm-hmm.
I can show pictures of my adventure, places I've been, animals I've seen, or whatever, and then just and I'm able to also bring in guests. I guess you can have other people come on board, where right now, if I do a live stream, I just do it with the YouTube software. So it's just me with no guests and this in the background.
Yeah, no, if you can carry a conversation, it works for about an hour or so, but
yeah, I don't know if you got anybody still watching.
Yeah, no, we have 47 people. Everybody knows we're wrapping it up at this point.
Yeah.
And that being said, I want to thank everybody that has hung with us for this 2 hours. I really appreciate you guys. I want to say thank you to all the members that have been in chat, like Monty and Hutch. And thanks again, Hutch, for the super chat. That was very kind of you, man. I truly appreciate that. I want to say thanks for everybody that gave me a thumbs up and joining me and Charlie today. I hope that you guys got some great information and you guys are going to check Charlie's channel out. And hopefully one of these days you guys might see me over there on Charlie's channel, because I think I want to do some more collaboration with Charlie, because I think I can learn a lot as well.
100%. Yeah, this is something like going out in the woods is not something that I guess that I'm learning today. Is something, but I still learn today. But this is something that I was taught from a very, very early age from very skilled woodsmen. Like, we never ever called bushcraft. I never even heard that term until I got on YouTube. Like, bushcraft, what the hell is that? then I watch some of these people out there and I'm thinking like, well, they're not woodsmen. You can tell they're city folks going out on the weekends trying to do some stuff. You know, some of them got good skills and great content, and others, well, not so much. But you know, but
Y-
I understand too that a lot of them are just on this journey, and they're going from the city dwelling life to wanting to know how to get out there, and if there's ever a need for them to get out there. So good on them. I applaud them for that, and it's nice to watch them go and learn as they go, and you can see from one year to the next they're getting better at it, and they're making better decisions and better choices and stuff. So that's
I
what you want to see. You want to see the growth.
I agree totally. And that's what I'm kind of taking people on a journey with me as I learn new things and try out new things I may fail on or things that I may excel on. But you know, everybody can learn a lesson from some of the stuff that I either discuss or show on YouTube or whatnot. We all have, like I always tell everybody, there's a piece of the puzzle. You know, let's say with your channel, this channel, my channel, and watching it all kind of make you more of a well-rounded person. You know.
Oh, 100%. And nobody knows everything, but you know, uh, and like those pens, those rabbit pens, after 50 years of snaring, I learned something new this year, you know? So you're never too experienced or too old to learn new tricks.
A lot of folks in chat are saying they're going to be binge watching your content, so that's a good thing.
Good stuff, guys. Like I said, and going back just this August there, you'll see everything that happened just out my back door, basically, from the moose hunting and the rabbit snaring and snowmobiling and everything. But if you go back further than that, you'll see some bigger adventures where I'm actually quite far from home type thing, if you will.
Yeah, no, definitely good stuff. And I always forget to say this. If you guys haven't done it yet, I always tell everybody to go ahead and smash that like button. Share this out to other folks. Share if you have any other platform that you want to share this video out on there, because get some exposure to me and Charlie, man. Because I think we had a great discussion this evening, and there's some relevant content here for you folks, and I hope you guys enjoy that.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for having me, Grey. Much appreciated. And anytime you want to get together and do a collaboration of any type, you just let me know. And if there's anything I can ever do, I'm going to give you a shout out on my next video, hopefully to help bring over some of my subscribers over to your channel.
I truly appreciate it, brother. It's
Yeah.
a
Well,
nice community.
yeah, well, it's about helping each other, and you know, you got a good channel, and you're doing good things with it, and you got a good following. And if there's anything I can do, or if ever you need me to reach out to you or anybody there for that matter, you know, I'm more than happy to help. Whatever I can do. I can't do much computer wise, and I don't have that skill. But if there's anything I can do for you, I'll be more than happy to help.
Sounds great, brother. I think that's about it. I think Red Burning Fire said, thank you, GreyMan and Charlie. Thank you, Harvey Black. Appreciate that. And yes, if you go over to Charlie's channel and leave a comment, say, let him know that you came over from Grey's channel, so he knows that where you guys came from. I think he'll think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
And
and Harvey, thank you for Harvey for introducing you to me. Thank you so much for that, my friend.
yeah, no, Harvey's one of my mods. He's and I don't know if I already thanked all the mods in there, but yeah, he sends me a lot of good emails with good channels, and I'm slowly trying to work them all in there because trying to reach out to everybody and see like that and kind of touch base with them. And I think, speaking of which, I'm probably forgetting something. I think tomorrow I'm on somebody's. I think I'm on Van Life with Gina tomorrow evening on her channel. Because I intermingle with a lot of other channels, you know, be it bushcraft, be it prepping, be it the van life, the RV life. So I think I'll be over there tomorrow in the evening. I'll have my video, my content up tomorrow time, and then I'll probably be over there late in the evening on her channel as well.
And just so you're the folks in the chat know, what I try to do is after Grey publishes this and the comments appear, I go in and I try to find out who was there and look them up and you know, subscribe back to them type thing, you know, just to help each other out.
That's pretty awesome, brother. All right, folks. I want everybody to have a good night. God bless and be safe out there. This is Charlie and Grey, and we are out. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys on another broadcast.
See you guys later. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thank you, Grey, for having me. Much appreciated, my friend.
Anytime, brother.